And welcome back, everyone. This is the Refresh Point. My name is Ben, and as always, I'm joined by my constant co-host, Steve. How's it going?
Great. How are you, Ben?
You know, I just went to Akon today, and just to pick up my badge, basically, because it was like after work, go to Akon, and then come here. So I stopped by a few stalls, and I was like, oh, this stall has like a design I want, because it was like a body pillow stand, and I was like, oh, this design is nice. Sold out. I was like, it's been one day. How does this happen?
Well, you know how the anime fans can be.
Yeah, I know. I understand. All of you cultured Venti fans out there, just jacking my vibe. It's okay. I got a t-shirt, and here we are.
Good.
And how are you, Steve?
Yeah, coming off a short work week, always, that's always nice. And looking forward to talking some Weiss Schwarz.
And here we are. We're back from fighting the waifu wars. There's been a new winner. Others are back from fighting online in the Bushiroad Rumble online. And we'll talk about all of that and more, including a new VTuber apocalypse potentially coming down the pipe. So, shuffle your decks, tap or cut, and we'll get right into the refresh point with some breaking news. All of Bro happened.
Yeah. So, Bushiroad decided to run back their very popular Bushiroad Rumble Online. So, little online action for you competitive players out there. And I don't think the results are super surprising.
I think there's a lot of blonde hair flying around the world, just like taking trips in every single continent possible.
Yeah, I guess this is gonna be our new normal for a while, where we talk about top 8s and we talk about Alice, because...
I don't think we have to talk about Alice.
No, she feels inescapable at this point.
We already talked about it. She's still here. Surprise, surprise. There's just a lot of Alice. There's some more Alice Kirito representation.
Yeah.
With I believe the finisher that requires Alicization in memory, and then it's just reveal top, burn for level +1.
It's cost +1.
Oh, cost +1.
Yeah. That's the one. And it's got like a few other cards that can give it some abilities. It can get minus souls. It can get like mill 17 and deal damage equal to the number of climaxes revealed or something. But
really, it's just another way to pay off all of your resources after you Aliced for 3 turns and stuffed your opponent into the dirt. But yeah, the Newark and Milan tournaments happened as well. Some more previews. We're winding down the Springfest season.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about all that in, as always, the Spike Club. But final bit of news: Avatar was fully revealed, and Quince 3, the movie, is out. So you can just start jamming in your buffed up Nino decks, completely unrestricted or nearly unrestricted. The new Itsuki decks coming in hot. This Burn 3 and Mocha combo just to kill your opponents.
It's rare that we see sets with this many good outcomes. Even the stuff that isn't considered to be like super meta is very reasonable. So, if you're a fan of that series, then it's going to be a great time.
It's going to be an amazing time for you. And for the rest of us looking at Avatar, I've been trying to brainstorm builds for the Master of Elements deck after it released, or after the full set reveal happened today at time of recording. And oh my god. Why did they do this to us?
Yeah, we'll have to dig into this set some more when we get to the actual release date, and there'll definitely be some ambitious deck building for Avatar.
There will be, for sure.
So, yeah, I think we'll have to wait until we can confirm all this stuff. But it was spoiled on stream, and it all seems like we know most of the cards.
I think we know all of the cards.
I think there's 2 box toppers that weren't revealed.
Okay. Well, Copium. Copium.
It's yellow and green.
It's yellow and green? Okay. Well, maybe those 2 box toppers are the sauce. The last bit of sauce. But we'll talk about that on an ambitious deck build for another day. But for now, we're going to hop right into the Spike Corner.
We love it in the Spike Corner.
We love this Spike every single day. Now, for the interest of time, we have a lot to cover here. So, la-di-da, Alice was there and everywhere. But who else is here? What else is everyone playing that's not Alice? What are we looking at here from all of these Bro events, the Newark event, and the Milan event? What are some of the highlights here that came up?
So the Bro listing in terms of stats, and of course, shout out to Weiss Time for, as always, digging in to get the good metrics so that content creators like us are able to accurately talk about the way these events break down.
Yeah, thanks Avis. We can continually farm your stats for content. It's a great time.
Yeah, and this list looks exactly like what you think it would look like. We have Nino and Escanor, and then a handful of other things, and then a million SAO decks. So, at least with regards to online, the Asia Oceania players, y'all need help. Because
y'all need some assistance.
This is way too many SAO decks in the top 8.
I think you guys need to find different anime. You know, we can help you with that.
There are decks that beat this deck. And I feel like we gotta let the people know there are decks that beat this deck. You don't have to play this deck. If blink twice if Alice is behind you, because you don't have to play this deck if you don't want to. But right. I assume that everybody wants to. So 6 of the top 8 at Bro were Alice decks of various flavors, all the flavors.
Yeah.
And that feels a little high. Europe and NA were a bit more diverse in terms of representation. Obviously, still SAO won all 3 events, and we can talk about that here in a second. But Danmachi, Kaguya, TRV dual laners, 8-bar Dragon Maid. MTI,
yes,
we're seeing
8-bar.
We're seeing a nice distribution of other decks. The 8-bar deck works really well against Alice. For those of you that like that set,
no, I like it.
Yeah,
I definitely like it.
So I think the diversity is a lot better in NA and EU, at least for this event, because people were more willing to dig into the stuff that does well against Alice, and quite frankly, had success.
So yeah, let's dive into Bro a little bit. So I know you have some opinions about online play versus in-person play, and it is a different environment. Like you're chilling at home, you've got the camera set up, so you also you might have to be wary of the other opponent as well. Because people, even on stream, even if you tell them, hey man, I'm recording the game, just to let you know, dude, people try stuff, there are so many Digimon cheating clips that I saw in recent times that are so disgustingly obvious.
I think there's been, in the past, there's been several players who have been caught, during the COVID years when we weren't able to have in-person tournaments and all we had were online tournaments. There were several people that were caught doing some pretty shady shit. And so because the opponent's not right in front of you, you have to be twice as vigilant when you're playing and at watching your opponent to make sure that there's no funny business. Obviously, we never presume malice in situations like this. But if you're playing online, you have to be careful about a few things. One thing is, you need to be careful where your hands are. Because, one, if you shuffle the wrong way, you can expose your deck to your opponent. And it's very easy to do. So, before you play in any online event, you need to get your setup and watch yourself play in front of it. Because 1, you don't want to show your opponent your hand. 2, you don't want to show your opponent your deck. And 3, you don't want to give your opponent any reason to think that you might be doing something shady. So, you need to keep your hands visible. If you can't help it, like you need to get up and go to the bathroom or something, you need to keep your hand cards visible and face down, obviously, at all times. There never should be a point where your opponent cannot see your hand. Because if they cannot see your hand, that is not good. They are going to presume that you are doing something nefarious, even if you aren't. And that can get you disqualified. That will get judges called on you. So, if you haven't played in a lot of online tournaments in Bro, and you're interested in Bro, and I'm sure there will be more this year in addition to Bro, but you want to practice some online play because there is an online etiquette that is not practiced in the physical game, and you need to be aware of it and respect it because you can run afoul of the judges and other players if you don't.
Yeah, it's just, we understand that most people are not trying to be nefarious, but we don't want to have the appearance of being nefarious either.
Right, exactly.
So, just gotta, if you haven't played that many, just gotta learn some of the habits. Now, the interesting thing about Bro was because of the way the times work, if you were really up to it, you could just crossplay.
Yeah.
From NA to EU to AO and just jam all the tournaments in. Which poses an interesting thing. I believe the winner of NA won EU as well.
That's right.
I think that was the split. Yeah. And so I think it's interesting. In my mind, to be honest, I consider them to just be like open bracket tournaments, and they just happen to have time zones that are technically favorable to their respective region, but if you can make it work, I say you just let it ride.
Yeah, I'm definitely of two minds about it. On the one hand, I don't understand why you would break them up by region if you didn't want the players to be from those regions. It kind of, I don't know, it seems a bit disingenuous to be like, yeah, I won North and Latin America, but am I from North and Latin America? No, I'm not. So it would be cool if Bushiroad, either do it one way or do it the other, make it more explicit, but I don't know. I think
it's just like, it just happens to be, it's exactly like you said. I think it's just like, these times are technically favorable, but like,
yeah,
if you can do it, it's online. Like the benefit of online is you can pull from competitors from all around the world.
Yeah. And
just let it ride.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's the right way to think of it. It does rub me a little bit the wrong way with the crossplay, but I understand it. Like, I mean, if you can play, yeah, what's the problem?
All right. I'm gonna use my host bias here when we're talking about some of these decks. I like your style, Atlas Kobayashi player. The deck name is Stop Healing, Start Winning, and you're so right. I like the adjustments that they made as well. I didn't watch the stream, unfortunately. I just kind of ended up like being overwhelmed. But I like the adjustments a lot. There is the bomb. Sorry, not the bomb. There's a coin flip that's just like mill a level 2 or lower character and then bounce on front attack. And they've switched from the yellow brainstorm to the red brainstorm that Scry's on play for like better guarantee of brainstorm, and also a on reverse check 3 add a character discard, kind of going away from there's a Kobayashi that's like on play ditch to search the brainstormer, sack, discard a card, salvage a card, and so it's more taking into red just for kind of your utility. There's one sack character to search for a climax event just to like make sure that nothing goes wrong. And I definitely like the 2-2 split of the 2 Slayer and the 1-1. more so than, like, I was playing just the 2-Slayer, and I missed the 1-1 a little bit, but against Alice, I definitely can't imagine cutting it entirely. So, the adjustments made here are very nice, and I like you. Get in there.
Yeah, the 1-1 is interesting because it's huge, but you generally just aren't going to be playing it in some matchups where the stock is not worth. And
I mean, it's free, right?
It's free in a sense.
It's free in a sense.
It does pay out dirty stock triggers in a way that doesn't move the deck, which it can be nice. It can be very nice to have.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, I think this build has got a lot to like. The reason that this works is because so many people are playing the types of decks that are vulnerable to these type of strategies. And in particular, this is an Alice killer deck. So, I'm glad to see people play decks like this because there needs to be acknowledgement of the idea that, like, Alice has defined bad matchups that are really tough for them to win. And I think with the Quint set coming out, they're going to find themselves having more and more awkwardness during games. But it remains to be seen how much that will matter, but unfortunately I get this weird red-headed feeling that we're going to be seeing that those decks crop up a lot going forward.
Last piece from this on me. I actually still like the yellow Brainstormer better. Because I find in the end game, I've lucked out more than a few times, just like jamming the draw off the Brainstorm just to try to find something. And that has been important. And it also synergizes with the yellow 1-0 that rearranges the top two. So I still like the yellow Brainstormer better. I understand why they ran the red one and the other red utility that they have, but I actually also really like the yellow discard 0. Maybe just like with the way it's constructed, they've made it work better. I see they have 4 of the Climax Ditch to salvage, which is fair, but definitely a lot of the times in the end game, I have found that just holding on to the hand fakes and then being like, okay, well, I don't need hand for my finisher. I need stock and I need the finisher in my hand. So ditch this random card that I've added off of this check 3 combo and grab the finisher. And that has tended to turn out results.
Yeah, I think it's very common in Weiss to have, like, you know, a few cards where you've had good outcomes with it because of the way that the play patterns have developed against the decks you're facing. But yeah, there's lots of room. In most sets, there's lots of room to operate. So I like this build. I think it's very good in the matchup that it needs to be good in, which is Alice. Though, I do find it a bit strange that with an 8-bar deck, you still found the need to run a card that gets you climaxes. Like, how can you not have them? What? There's so many treasures here.
I wouldn't play it either, but it's there. It's an insurance policy, I guess, more than anything else.
Sure, like, but this feels like in a room full of axes, you made a break glass with an axe behind it. It's like, weren't there enough in the room? You needed to have a emergency one? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about Hendrickson for a second.
Yeah, let's talk about Hendrickson for a second. We have the Elizabeth package that we all know and love. We've had it the whole time, but now, instead of Escanor, we've decided we're too good for that.
Yeah, I guess they decided that they liked not finishing with a bunch of ones better, and they found the drama of just sending a burn 4 down your opponent's way to be a bit more compelling. So
yeah,
we have a lot of what we would say is the standard SDS package at this point. We've got the Lost Vein, the Elizabeth, the Brainstorms, the
gang's all here.
The gang's all here, and then on top of that, in the few slots where we trimmed off a little bit, we found room for blue. You know, the blue that everyone knows from SDS. But in case you didn't, we'll just talk about it really quick. So let's talk about the blue finisher. We've got a on play check 3 add 1, so highly likely to produce something that you want, either more finishers or the climax or whatever. And then we have pay 1, drop 2 on attack to check the top of your opponent's deck and either leave it or put it in the waiting room, and then burn 4. So burn 3 to it's basically a burn 3, but you get a bonus damage. So that's kind of nice. Or it ditches a climax, which is also kind of nice. And then we teched in this blue card that forces your opponent to reshuffle. Always good when you're trying to deal dramatic amounts of damage to try and get your opponent's deck into a state where it might work, right? Or it has a greater possibility of working.
Yeah.
The thing you get from building it this way, you get the pants trigger, which will let you spam more Elizabeths during the mid game. Sometimes you'll see situations with SDS where they can't get climaxes, like they start to block or something, and they struggle to produce climaxes in hand. This kind of helps deal with that. And then you get like better reach, we'll say. So like this is a lot of damage.
For sure.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about it?
You know, you get the top check, and in our area at least, there's enough players that will just block off the top. That the top check top to bottom isn't the worst. Like there've definitely been more than enough ding 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 triple block 1/1/1s that I'm just like, you know, this scribe might just do the job. Sometimes it just might do, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that is just enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
To be honest,
got top 8, so congratulations.
It's definitely it's like a more straightforward reach.
Yeah.
And after seeing Escanor played so much, there's definitely games where like it'll stick all the ones, but then it's like, why did you do it anyway? Right? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, it just would have stuck, and you're like, okay.
I think this is obviously a bit easier to set up in the late game.
For sure. Yeah. It's easier to set up.
I question whether you could ever triple this. I mean,
it's pay 1 ditch 2, right?
It's ditch 2, but you get 1.
Yeah.
So
I mean, seems
you need a pretty I guess all you
triple.
All you need is a pretty full hand, I guess.
And that's what Elizabeth gets you.
At the very least, you'll have some cards.
You will have a bunch of cards.
I don't know if they'll be the cards you want, but there'll be some.
I mean, I think it's all you need. I think if Escanor's success is anything to be told, that might just be enough.
For sure. Maybe you just need a bunch of cards in your hand.
Yeah. And so I think for the interest of time, we are going to go on to Waifu Wars, Episode 2, Attack of the Pink-Haired Girls. Last time it was the red-headed menace. This time it's a different shade of red. Chica actually won our Waifu War event. Congratulations to you, Sam. I'm calling you out and just by your name. You won. You did it. It turns out the 12th choice Chica was pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think when you're building for one of these type of events, you have your choice, right, of how you want to approach it. You could definitely approach it from the perspective of building the strongest possible deck with the best tools. We could look through all the sets. We could find the waifu that's got the level 1 combo and the level 3 combo, and it's got all the good utility cards because the set's just got a small amount of characters, and we could just, we could treat this like a Spike event, right? We could just go and just pummel the other players with the power of our meta. But I think it's much more compelling if you just pick the character you like
and try to make it work.
Well, he liked Chica, and it turns out when you like Chica, you've got a lot of options.
Yeah, so it certainly helps when those two situations align.
Yeah. I played the Elmo deck, and I actually ended up winning a few rounds, which is more than I expected, but you know what? Having two combos does help out.
Yeah.
You played Saber in the end. At the end of our last episode, I think you were teetering between, like, Hagia, Sal, like, Asuna, but your aversion to the SAO waifu decks, I think, drove you to Saber in the end.
Yeah, we posted up the rules for what we use for our waifu tournament in the previous episode, and SAO can't build. Like, it's not even just Asuna. It's literally nothing will work.
Yeah.
Like, Alice doesn't work for the most part because all of her support prior to the anniversary set was based around wind. So all of her Alice 2 cards wind. And her finishers were on wind, and she had all this wind support that was like very packaged.
Yeah.
But if you have any desire to use the stuff from anniversary, it doesn't fucking work. Because none of it is on wind, and none of it has anything to do with wind. And you don't have any slots on the board to put the brainstorm because the back row for the wind deck is set. You got the support that hits the markers, and you got the brainstorm 5, but the brainstorm 5 only hits on wind. So you could just ignore the anniversary set and build 8 Wind Alice. That's probably the best SAO waifu deck there is. And it would do okay. Or maybe you could play Silica, right? Like,
yeah,
door standby or something like that. Or door, where you just kind of ignore a bunch of the new cards, play a bunch of the cards that already existed. Maybe that's fine.
And maybe that's just enough.
But what you definitely can't build is Asuna. Like,
walk me through your pain.
This is the only character I wanted to build for, and it's the only character that doesn't work. Nothing works, okay? So, here's why it doesn't work. Because keyword fuckery. That's why. So, when you have an anniversary set, frequently what Bushiroad will do is they will make the cards in the anniversary set kind of tightly grouped with each other. And this is the case with the Asuna from many cards from the anniversary set, but the Asuna 1-0 in particular. Asuna doesn't have very good advantage engines. That's her problem. Is that there's a ton of like finishers of varying quality that you could run, but there are 3 advantage engines that exist really for this character in the entire time that SAO has existed, and none of them are good. One of them is from like 2014 where you pay 1 on attack to search. Okay, that's not good. That's very bad. One of them is on reverse. You can check 3 and add 1 and give power. So just not super great.
Yeah,
and
you could play it.
Yeah, but it's this is a very small power character. Going to have difficulty reversing.
Yeah, how small?
6'5", I think, or 6K.
Come on, you can in a waifu tournament. You can cope. You can cope.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, then so and it's not on a great trigger, we'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What trigger is it?
Wind. So the combo you wish you could play is the anniversary combo, right?
Right.
A 1-0. It's a 102K, but its power condition is 1,000 power for every anniversary character, and maybe you could ignore that.
Yeah.
But its combo condition is on attack with 4 more other anniversary characters, and then you just stop reading because you realize there aren't enough Asunas to make the deck work. It salvages or gives stock, and if it gives stock, you can get 2K. So and it's on choice. That's the combo you wish you could play. You can't. So you can try to force this win combo, but man, is it scuffed. Like, that just,
well, you gotta try it now. Next waifu tournament,
See,
you gotta rock up.
The thing is I did already. There was a waifu tournament prior to this one, several years ago.
Yeah.
Where I played this exact deck. Where it was like...
But now you can have a different finisher.
Yeah,
right?
I had wind and then choice. And it's awful. It's just absolutely awful. And I don't know what to say. It isn't good. So, during the next waifu tournament, I will be playing Kaguya for sure. I didn't play it this time. I built it. And then
You could have had greatness.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I really like Saber. So...
I mean, yeah, fair.
I sacrificed for Saber. And to be fair, Saber's not bad.
Excalibur.
Yeah, I just wanted Excalibur people. And is that so wrong? And I also got to play... Saber's early play healer is 5 or fewer cards in the deck early healer.
Did you ever play that card?
I played it like 5 times. I couldn't believe how many times I got it off. I was like, this is ridiculous. How am I doing this? But I mean,
hey, it works out.
Yeah.
It just works sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. 60% of the time, it works every time.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, I had a great time. Went 2-2. So, you know, not super great, but also not horrible.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, but that's kind of what it's about. Like, you want to get in there and, like, watch your waifu deck do work, you know? So, that was good.
And then, what other formats do we have coming down the pipe?
Well,
what else can we be doing?
So, the other thing, we drafted the cube a little bit.
We did draft the cube.
Yeah.
We could get to that a little later.
So, and then...
I'm curious, like, what other formats we could be playing, kind of like constructive.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, when we did a poll of our local community about, kind of more, for fun, casual formats, the next most popular one after waifu was Legacy, pre-2017. So, if for those of you that have been playing Weiss for a really long time, 2017 was the darkest timeline for Weiss Schwarz.
They printed gear, I hear.
Yeah, Attack on Titan 2 came out and no one else could win. So, in light of that, we thought about going back to perhaps a better time. A time before Attack on Titan.
You're trying to wow classic Weiss.
Yes. Though not so much. We could do pre-2015. Yeah, that's this is kind of like, this is the Wrath of the Lich King, right? We got some stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, okay.
We got some stuff that will work. Now,
Sure.
is it gonna be nothing but Nisekoi? I don't know. But
no, I'm gonna play a Persona 4 deck, baby.
there you go.
You know it.
Yeah. But there's decent deck diversity during this time period. Like, it's never amazing, right?
Oh, I could make a Miku deck.
Yeah, that's true.
We could make a Project Diva deck from the ages.
Yes. The Soundless Voice deck was a banger back in the day. It was the original you definitely cannot reverse these characters type deck.
Oh yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right, yeah.
Legacy was very popular, so we're gonna schedule a time for that. We're gonna run that. And for a lot of players, that was before they played Weiss.
We
so
actually, yeah.
they just don't even know the cards.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's actually me.
Yeah.
Me and at this point a good few others, like
Yeah.
4 or 5, maybe. Even
I would say a
6
decent.
people.
I would say a decent chunk of our local was not playing at the time.
Yeah.
Or if they were playing, it was very casual.
We funnily enough, we actually grew during COVID to like a weird amount.
Yeah.
Like a good 4 to 5 people started playing Weiss during COVID.
I don't think that's
and joined
surprising.
the local.
But yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like went to LGS.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
actually, yeah.
I think there's
During an active global pandemic, went to a shop. Yeah.
well,
It was interesting.
I definitely wouldn't do that, but yeah, I guess some people were more ambitious than others.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, the next format that's very intriguing to me, I think is really interesting from a deck building perspective is Pauper.
Pauper will be interesting.
And so what I mean by Pauper is For level 3s, the rare, rarity, and below. And for all your other cards, uncommon and below. So, what does that mean? Means we're gonna have to...
Time for the zero combos, baby!
Yes, we're gonna have to dig deep.
Zero combos coming up clutch. Coming in strong.
We're gonna have to dig deep into the box. We're gonna have to look real hard for the stuff, the hidden gems. The stuff in the trial deck. The cards you definitely didn't look at because you were like...
Do we count just all trial deck cards?
For sure.
Okay. Alright.
We gotta keep it like...
Yo, Hololive is about to come in.
Yeah.
Maybe not just all trial deck.
Maybe not all trial deck cards. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out.
Though if you try to play Kanata Marine, I promise it won't work. Because one, Marine's a double R. Second... Kanata sounds really good, but until you realize that a bunch of the parts aren't there, it's not so good. So I think most trial decks are pretty reasonable. I don't think any of them are super overpowered, but...
Corone Rushia?
Yeah,
okay, Steve.
Maybe.
We'll
I
go
don't
to
know.
the drawing board a little.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But anyway, yeah.
I'm hyped for Kobayashi in this time period. I was like, look at all this tech that's uncommon and below. My On-Death Akatsuki, my Climax Swapper, at least 2 good brainstorming options, you know.
Some sets will be really, really living it. And some of them will be like, what level 3 can I possibly play that will result in wins? Because the other thing that happens a lot in a Pauper setting is you start to look real deep in the 0 game. Because your 0 and 1 game, it goes from very consistent and strong to highly questionable and variant. So
joke's on you. My zeros and double R's were never great anyway.
Yeah, right. That's the trick, right? You just pick a set where the zeros already suck.
Yeah. Just pick JoJo's.
If you dare.
I don't think you would get any. I don't know if you would get any combos.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But obviously, the bigger the set is, the better it is. The more choices you have, the better. So. I think I'm going to try and sell everybody on that format. Hopefully we can.
Well, first we got to hash it out.
We
gotta
obviously
line this out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe trial decks will be banned. I don't know.
And, we said this was the attack of the pink-haired girls world. Because it turns out, here comes a new challenger. From our boy Oofmi from Honest Weiss Schwarz. Came in hot a few weeks ago. And he was like, I don't think it's good. But, here's Ayame. Here comes Ayame.
I was hesitant to talk about this because I hate it so much. This...
What if you can attack 6 times with a 2-soul at level 0? You can proc this at 0-6, to be clear.
Yeah. I hate this. For the record, I hate this. But when we were discussing in the pre-meetings before this episode, I didn't even want to talk about this. But Ben convinced me to talk about this because it's already out there.
It's out there. It was like tweeted about like it was Honest Weiss Schwarz and like Tressa's.
Yes, and the chairman, of course, putting out deck text for this thing. Thank you all very much for exposing this god-awful abomination. I am going to @ Bushiroad with those video links every day until it's banned. So, thank you for that.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to take screenshots. This cannot live.
You're really going to tweet at them every day.
I'm going to write a script to do it. But we didn't get into software engineering to do stuff manually. But let's talk about it. So
what does it do? Alright.
Let's talk about it.
No, you know what? We're not going to cover that much.
No.
There are deck texts. There's a 5-minute video from Oofmi. I think it was on the Honest Weiss Schwarz channel. I'm going to link it below. That's like the very straightforward rundown of what it does.
Yeah.
And for an even lesser, like, even more high-level rundown of what it does, hear me out, there's a 0. This 0 can sack another 0 on attack. And when it does that, I think when that one dies, it Ricky's, searches for a cost 0, puts it on the board resting. And now we can search for an Ayame that will then search out, because it's on play to stage, not just from hand. Search out the other 3 Ayames that are hopefully in your deck, and then put them onto the stage. Standard.
Right. So, the TLDR of this is we have a way to attack 6 times starting from level 1. Normally, attacking 6 times at level 1 is impossible in any other circumstance. And even if it were, it wouldn't be that big a deal. But of course, we can turn it up to 11.
Lunar New Year! Lunar New Year! Lunar New Year!
By jamming 2 souls into it.
Lunar New Year! Happy Lunar New Year, boys! Here's your lucky money. It's some damage coming down the pipe. Courtesy of Shioko.
Yeah, so...
Open up your red envelopes for some 2 souls, baby.
Bushiroad saw fit in their infinite wisdom to print 2 souls that will work in any set. This is it. So, we're gonna have a chart that came from... Yeah.
Music.
We're gonna have a chart that came from, that somebody built that shows the chances of dealing damage. And again, the TLDR of it is, in deck 1s, 2 souls are dangerous as hell.
Yeah, it turns out, you have a very, very high chance. Like, an 80% plus chance of dealing at least a level.
Yeah.
At least. This is like, bare minimum, you're probably gonna hit for 7.
Yeah, and like the math supports hitting for 7 pretty regularly. And it's still pretty good. If you trigger a little bit early and your deck starts to wobble, like 8, 9, 10 damage.
Coming down the
Very
pipe.
possible.
Dude, like, I can't tell you how many times now that I'll just be like, well, it's been 2 turns and I'm out 6. Hopefully nothing bad happens to me.
Yeah. And it's bad enough when you're facing a 2 souls deck, because there are other 2 souls decks that are kicking around in the format that punish super hard when your deck starts to wobble a little bit.
Yeah, if you see like a rogue Beaufry 2 souls stock soul running around,
Sure.
you know,
Or TRV or
Grisaya.
Yeah. So
it's not out yet, but one
there-
of our locals has been playing it.
there's been 2 souls in the game, right? And there's been punish from 2 souls. This is a whole different level of punishment. This is full 2 turns of attacking in 1 turn for free, pretty much. It costs you very little, and you get a full board of dudes that attacks. And then an entire other board of dudes that attacks again. The game can literally end before it ever starts. Because if you're mid 2 while I'm 1-0, like how can the game continue? Like, at what point are you going to get back in the game? It's just not going to happen. So...
I look forward to seeing you write that script, Steve.
Yeah. in a you know, we kind of joked about it, but like in a real way, this is very degenerate, and not something that they should really allow in the game. I would.
So
think.
this is coming in Hololive 2. This is only possible in Hololive 2.
Right.
It's not out in English yet.
Yeah.
However, for once, we found the tech before JP and put it into this world.
So
And,
yeah, their tech, they're already building decks for it. Their tech is slightly better because their universal 2 souls is red and
Yeah.
not blue.
Yeah.
So their version will be even better. I don't know that there's a way to control this. It doesn't seem possible. Obviously, if you block down, right? No harm, no foul. But
yeah,
your
just
your
block
opponent
6 times.
Your opponent is just gonna have a regular, like, there's gonna be a deck on top of all this, and so it'll be, you would need to block down. you can't not block down. Because if you take an entire level of damage at 1 and go to 2, the game is not going to have a good shape of outcome going forward.
Okay, I don't know about that. Like, I definitely...
Everybody has. Yes, everybody has.
A lot.
Sure. But
that's a pretty common outcome, not gonna lie. But what I'm worried about, for me, because my luck's even worse. Like, I'm pretty used to going from 1 to 2. But like, 1 to 3?
Yeah, I mean, the game's just over, right?
Game's just over, mate. If they hit you from 1-0 to 3-0, mate.
Like, imagine you're going first against this. You go first, right?
Yeah.
Hit with your guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, tri-field. Push you to 1.
What do you do now?
It's like, okay, you clock, you go to like 1-2, 1-3, you play your combo, everything's fine. Ayame. Now you're like 2-5, 2-6.
What are you gonna do?
How does the game even continue from that point? It does. It has to, right? Because you can't, or I guess you're allowed to scoop at any time during the game. That's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the game's not gonna have a good outcome from that point. And so hopefully they don't allow this. Like, this is obviously against the intent, the design of the way this card is supposed to work. And hopefully Bushiroad is learning a good lesson here, where you should not let we should limit the scope in which cards can summon other cards.
I think it's literally just if you errata it to be on play to stage from hand. Like that.
Then it can't, right? But then it can't combo with itself.
No, like on play to. Oh yeah, no, that's right.
So
okay, that's right.
Yeah, the reason it's even worded this way in the first place is so that it can combo with itself. So you can get 3 of them.
Right.
Right. This is just happening in a degenerate way because we have a sack mechanic that happens during the attack step.
Yeah.
So, allowing sacking during the attack step is a risky paradigm.
Yeah.
Right, because anything that responds on death can happen now and happen out of turn. So, we'll see.
I will say, if you're thinking of coming to DFW locals sometime past, I don't know, August 2nd, I think, or August 8th. One of those 2 dates. I think it's August 2nd, that Hololive 2 releases. I wouldn't go to locals. If you're just visiting, you can come by and see like 6 Ayames walk into a shop practicing for the first regional. But I wouldn't recommend it.
The thing is that it's not just this podcast that's heavy in the Spike Corner. It's just the entire local region. So there's only going to be 2 outcomes from this. One of those outcomes is that Bushiroad steps in and deals with this stuff, right? That's the one we're hoping for.
That's the one you're hoping for, at least.
But don't think we aren't planning for the other outcome. Because we are. And if you make us...
I think somebody's gonna try to proxy it for like next week already.
Yeah, if you make us play this, we'll do it. Do not dare us. We will do it.
And I mean, to be fair, like other people in the States have already been playing it because they own the product in JP, and so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's just all pray together that we don't have to deal with this.
Well, yeah. And now, for something completely different. The Cube format!
Yeah, so...
Our good friend, the Doctor, as we call him, he has a doctorate in math, he's a good buddy of ours, has built a cube. It's a cube of about 400 cards or so, and it's been kind of balanced around, like, presence of mechanics, sets, and all sorts of stuff to be a cube to draft from.
Yeah, so if Weiss is your first card game and you are not familiar with Cube or what a cube is, or drafting or what drafting is, it's a limited format where you will have a set of cards, in this case several hundred cards, and you'll make little packs out of them. And then to build a deck, you'll distribute the packs to each player, and then you'll open one. You'll take the best card available, in your opinion, and then you will pass that pack of cards to the person to your left, and then the person to your right, and then the person to your left, and repeat that, taking one card at a time until you have enough cards to form a deck. And so when we talk about drafting, that's what we're talking about. Weiss does not have any official limited formats. Every once in a while, there used to be one pack Weiss, and I think at some point they pushed some like TD and some stuff.
No, I think they pushed there's like not a one. It was a little bit more than a one pack. I feel like.
It was
I
a two pack. Yeah.
I don't remember what it is.
They've experimented a couple times with it, but generally speaking, they don't really have limited formats. So what's nice about the cube is we get a limited format that's very playable if the cube is designed correctly. 4 of us drafted the cube on Saturday, or the Saturday prior to this recording, right before our waifu tournament, and played a few games. We all enjoyed it, I think. Did you?
So I played the same cube with 4 different people, like at the surprise graduation party that y'all threw me.
Yeah.
That y'all just absolutely like pranked me, ganked me with. Yeah. He was there too. He brought the cube. We played it. Bill.
How many people did you draft with?
4.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been 4 twice so far with this specific cube setup. He had it before, less tuned and only up to 2018. So recently, in the last few months, I and a few others have been donating cards into it, and he's been trying to balance it with all of his mathematical prowess. He's been seeing the lines in the matrix, making all the balance work out so that everybody has access to mechanics and climax combos and so on and so forth. And this has been the result.
So, what are your thoughts on drafting for Weiss? I know Weiss is your first card game.
Yeah.
And Weiss is pretty much the only card game that you've played consistently.
Right.
So
I like the cube a lot. I like drafting a lot. I like it appeals to my like Johnnyisms.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Of just like trying to put together a deck from what we've got, something kind of funky, something kind of silly. So I like the cube a lot. I've had some interesting interactions with it, for sure. I don't remember the exact deck I had last, or even before. Before, I actually played the original version of this cube from like pre-2018, which was also very silly, because my end game just ended up being early play the 2-3 10k that clock encores with 3 soul and swing with it.
Nguyen?
Every turn.
Nice.
Yeah. There was like I think I got to a standby, either that or no, there was a card that let you, or I had like a combo that let you cheat stuff out.
Got it.
At 2.
Okay.
So that I wouldn't have to pay for it.
Right.
And then just
because we don't pay.
We don't pay.
No.
And then I just sway with this 10k 2-3 soul guy.
So
zombified. But it's very fun. And like having like multiple combos go off at the same time is also very silly. We posted this rule set. We posted Alex's rule set before.
Yeah.
But in this cube, how it works is that all characters have all traits, essentially.
Yeah.
So trait lock doesn't matter. And so this card that previously is like, okay, well, I have to reverse, and then it only salvages a beast character. Well, how good is this? Now, it salvages any character.
Right. So there is a bit of discrepancy in the power level of some cards, but generally speaking, this rule, what it does is it makes cards behave like they would in a normal deck.
Correct.
Right. So, especially if we're dealing with universal traits, for the most part, it just means that cards will behave like you think they will, which I think is a good thing.
And then, the little spicier thing is that all Climax combo cards combo with all Climaxes of the same color.
Right. This is the wild, insane part.
I love this part. This part's hilarious.
Yeah, because what that means is essentially multiple Climax combos can be going off simultaneously as long as they're all the same color, and it really alters your draft strategy significantly.
Now, it is a Highlander format.
Yes.
So you cannot have more than one copy of a combo anyway. But what it does make you do is have interesting interactions when you're planning out your Climax combo turns.
Yeah, so you definitely want to, these rules will make you imply certain priorities, basically. I don't think there's... I thought the rule set was fine. It does make it where the bigger the draft is, the harder it's going to become. Because what's going to happen is you will see cards with Climax combos that you will not want to draft. Because it's hard enough to get like a couple Climax combos of all the same color. And if you can't do that, then you're going to try and avoid Climax combos in general. So, hopefully, you're able to put that together. Here's my experience based on drafting the most recent iteration of the cube and having a long draft background.
Right.
I played Magic and still do, which is a very, very... Limited formats are a very important part of Magic. Getting good at limited formats is a really important part of Magic.
For sure.
So, drafting in Magic is never done in groups that small. Just because, if you can help it. Just because the power level of the cards is going to ramp. Because you're getting more opportunities to look at the same pack repeatedly. So, it's going to allow you to let stuff wheel. Basically, you can pass on something that you think is good for you and not good for everyone else, and take a better card, or something that hurts someone else, and then the pack will wheel back to you, and you can take the card that's good just for you.
Right.
So, I think that when you have a very small pod, then you're going to have very different results than if you had a larger pod. So, 6 is kind of the sweet spot in Magic, and I think it would be here as well. What I liked about the way this one was constructed was you have the climaxes are outside of the draft packs.
Right. So the way that this is drafted, all of the packs, quote unquote, are just 7 cards taken from the entire cube, shuffled together in all sorts of different ways to try to randomize it as much as possible, and then just 7 cards put together, and that's the quote unquote pack. And character and event drafting is done separately from climax drafting.
Yeah, which I kind of like. It helps you align the deck correctly, and it does ease the difficulty of the draft. So if you put the climaxes in the packs with it, then that does make the draft more difficult. And I think Weiss players in general aren't experienced drafters, and that feels like an unnecessary burden to put on players to make it where you need to remember how many zeros you have, remember how many 3s you have, remember how many climaxes you have, make sure they're all kind of aligning during the draft.
Right.
So I think this is a good way to do it.
Because I feel like climaxes are just such a fundamental part of Weiss that you're just like,
yeah,
let's make sure we all have them.
Yeah, and it keeps you from screwing your deck completely up. But like I said, that's more of a draft comfort thing that I think will get... If you do it more, you'll get better at it. It's just like having extra lands in a Magic draft. But the other thing is the draft packs were a little small. So you mentioned the size of 7 cards. And that means that there's very little opportunity in the pack to get stuff to wheel to you. So you have to basically take, if there's something good, you need to take it if it's good for you. And you can't worry too much about the rest of the pack, you just take the best thing available. And while I do enjoy that, I think it does cut into the draft strategy a little bit. It does make it where it becomes a little more obvious what colors people are drafting and what colors you need to be drafting to work around that.
So, small feedback for the good doctor here. We've already mentioned 6 is probably a good pod size. What do you think is the good pack size? Because this is all just like completely custom, right? Our packs are not actual draft packs from Magic or whatever, right? Reality can be whatever we want.
Right, and I never would presume to know more about math than the good doctor. Lord knows he knows much more about it than I do. But from a draft perspective, you want to have enough cards in the pack where you feel like you have a good amount of choices, and you need to feel like, in my opinion, you need to feel like stuff can wheel back to you, because that allows for more interesting draft strategy. Because ultimately, if you're only going to see a pack once, you need to take the best card for you, and you can't worry about anything else. But if you know you're going to see the pack at least twice, then you can take more diverse approaches where you can see a card. Like, let's say we're sitting next to each other. I get the suspicion you're drafting yellow. You get the suspicion I'm drafting red. If I see a really powerful yellow card the second I open a pack, I could give consideration to the idea of taking it, because I am taking it away from you and putting it into the shadow realm where I'm not going to play it, but neither is anyone else.
Yeah.
So I can pick a really powerful card that I don't want to face, that I know isn't going to be good in my deck, and put it away and get rid of it. But I can't do that if the pack is too small. How big is the right size? If it were a pot of 6, I would say 15 cards. If it was a pot of 4, I would say 10 cards probably. Because that'll give you 2 rounds and a little more.
Right.
So, I think that those are good numbers. We talked about it briefly while we were doing it. My opinion on this stuff.
For sure.
The setup was fine. How it ended up was fine. I think that in general, Weiss doesn't do a very good job training players how to be good at draft. Some things will have artificially good value in draft that they won't have in constructed play. But yeah, I highly encourage people to, if you're feeling very ambitious and you love Weiss and you have a few weeks to kill, feel free to build your own and experiment.
Together your own cube. Yeah, and another thing about this cube, before we wrap up today, is that it is it is power balanced to a degree. There is only so many, There is so many climax combos, and they only do so much, so that it's not so polarizing that you're like, I see climax combo that good, I know this is the best one, I will draft it regardless of color. Like, there's no Itsuki, right, from Quince.
Yeah.
There isn't, I don't know. Honestly, I'm surprised that Chica, the 3-2 Chica from set 2 Kaguya made it in. But to be fair, there is other, finishers that are also pretty alright. And it's Highlander, so...
Yeah, I think you have to have good cards to distinguish from bad cards.
To be fair, yeah.
But, yeah, you have to be cautious what cards you include. Because, for instance, extremely powerful cards that work in the back row are probably the worst thing to have in a cube.
Right.
Because once it gets squat down on the board, it's unlikely you'll be able to deal with it. So don't put Elizabeth in your cube, is what I'm saying.
Is it in the cube?
Huh?
Is it in the cube?
I don't think so.
No.
But, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah. You have to take care when you're building it, but I think it's an experimental process, but it's fun to experiment with. Yeah. As long as you have a decent local group of players that are interested in that sort of thing, it can be very rewarding to build one.
And because it's Highlander format, it's pretty, if you own enough product, it's easy enough to kind of pull from the homies and just, put it all together. We're not asking for, play sets of double rares everywhere. Just hey, do you have a spare of this brainstormer?
Yeah.
A spare drop surge here, a spare,
Yeah, and after you open a few packs, you're gonna have a couple extra cards kicking around, and Lord knows everybody's got tons of bulk kicking around they don't know what to do with, and so if you've been buying a lot of cards, or if the locals have been buying a lot of cards, or if let's say your store has a common and uncommon box like many stores do, then you can just pull from that, peek through that thing, and start to experiment with maybe a little more limited format that can cause some, burst of creativity.
I liked the one turn that I saw from Billy where he had a yellow plussing combo, a 0 level plussing combo, and then the yellow combo from Fate 0, I think, that shoves the climax back into the deck.
Oh, no, it sends it to memory.
No, there's one that sends it to deck.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so what he did was he procced all of the other climax effects and then sent the climax back into deck.
Huh. All right.
Just hey, what if I simply got everything?
Yeah. And so that's the type of thing where if you have to fine tune the rule set to the power level that you want, and you need to fine tune the cube to the power level that you want. It can be any power level.
I mean, yeah, you can make it OP as hell.
If you got a bunch of double R's around and you want to create a lunatic cube, then
don't get us wrong. Go ahead.
Do you? I mean, there's a power level for every group. But yeah, I think it's definitely highly underrated format, definitely under the radar for in the Weiss community.
And that's our show for today. So tune in next time after your next deck out, and don't you forget to take the refresh point.